I went to his grave just the other day. I said I felt like he was forgetting about me. And I didn't even have tickets. And I got them from Jackie today.
So it's your dad's way of telling you. So first of all, know that your father's here. And this is crazy because this man was tough when I'm speaking to him here in this world. He says to me, Matt, he says, I want to let my daughter know one thing. When I'm speaking to your dad, he says to me, can you please let her know from the other side? He says that the one thing that I wish I would have gotten to tell her how much that I truly loved her here in this world. Your dad says to me, he goes, Matt, you gotta understand, my daughter is like a rough, tough cream puff here in this world. He says, she's somebody that's rough and tough. He says, but she takes care of everybody here in this world. That's just who she is. And your dad is here right now for you. What I gotta tell you is this, when I'm connecting with your dad, right? This was a man who did not want to admit that anything was wrong within his body when I'm speaking to him. Yep. It was really tough because he keeps telling me, Matt, I didn't want to go to the doctors. I didn't want to go to the doctors, he tells me. And he tells me that you used to fight him tooth and nail to try to get him to go, to try to get him to be seen. And your father is telling me, Matt, he says, I have to tell my daughter that she deserves so much more credit here in this world. When I'm speaking to him, I just actually saw him lean down and kiss you. He says, Matt, you need to let her know that I was afraid of going to the doctors because I was afraid that I was never going to come back home, he tells me. He says, and I was so afraid that if I went, he says that I was going to die there, and he tells me that. And for that, it was really tough because I see that you never got to be there for your dad the way that you wanted to because you used to try to get him to the doctors, you tried to help him, you tried to do all these things, and your dad would fight you tooth and nail and not go.
Never went to the doctors.
He tells me. But he also tells me this. He says, Matt, what I want her to know is that even if I went, I was not going in for any type of surgery. I was not going in for any type of intervention. He says, I did not believe in that. He says, it went against who I was, and he's bringing that through. What he has to tell you is this. By him coming through right now, it's his way of letting you know that in spirit, he is exactly the way that he was before he got sick. What's so amazing is when I'm connecting with this man, he wants to thank you for taking such great care of him here in this world.
Because my best friend.
He tells me. He says to me, what he remembers, it's so funny when souls talk to me. Your dad wants to thank you for how well you kept him fed here in this world. So when I'm speaking to him.
Over every single night.
He tells me, because he tells me,
every
Matt,
night.
He goes, her mother wasn't a good cook here in this world. He says, I don't know where she got it from. He says, but do you know that every night he'd be so excited to come in to eat with you, he tells me. He says, and he'd be calling you up on the phone like, what are we having tonight? What are we having tonight? Do you understand that? He's like, being with her was like having my own personal chef. And he's bringing this through. He says, but the other thing that he needs you to know is this. He says, there was nothing left unsaid between you and between him. No. He said to me that what he loved most was the relationship and the love that you had with one another. He says, nothing could take that away from us. He says, so on the other side, he says, what he remembers is being there at your house, you cooking for him. He says, everyone being around one another. He says, and know, he says that on the other side, my soul is with you every day.
But I have to tell you.
Go ahead.
I went to his grave just the other day. And I said I felt like he was forgetting about me. And I didn't even have tickets to this. And I got them from Jackie today. So
it's your dad's way of telling you. Listen, there are no such things as coincidence. So when you went to his grave and you're like, Dad, I feel like you're forgetting about me. What happened? Where are you? I don't sense you. I don't feel you, right? Yeah. And then all of a sudden you gave her tickets and said, listen, why don't you come tonight? And you came and here's your father, right? You're going to know that your loved ones don't listen to me. I just tell you what they're saying. They're already there and with you. So this is your dad's way of letting you know that he heard that conversation. And when you went to his grave and had that conversation, it's his way of letting you know that his love has not been lost on the other side. He is with you every day. He is watching over you, and he is safe and at peace.